We're here, we're queer, and some of us are just a little bit green.
I'm offended by
Welcome,
the green face.
as you should be. Welcome to Let's Have a Fifi. This is your Wednesday night conversation. This is season 12, episode 4. We're moving quite along. I am Felicia Fifi Minor, and being the minority is pretty much.
What are you doing?
I had my hands up me because it was like not sitting on my chest wall. It feels weird. I
That's
am
funny.
weird. You're
You are
welcome.
weird. You are
You're
weird, yes.
welcome. Uh, my goodness. But if you so choose while you're listening to this podcast or watching us live, feel like you want to get exclusive content, you can go to patreon.com/ let's have a fifi. And we've been posting pretty regularly. I think last week we both
we
did.
we
We
I'm
both did.
I'm a little bit behind on the after shows just because our after show from last week was long. And I've actually
We had a
been
lot to talk about.
we did and which is fine except for the fact that I've actually been busy at like work and stuff. I've been in deep in spreadsheets all week. So haven't
How dare
had
your
time to
how
sit
dare
actually.
your job do that?
No,
How weird.
bastards. So
God, do
I
they know
haven't
what they're
gotten
supposed
that,
to
and
do?
I apologize that I am behind, but hopefully I'll have time this weekend to make sure that I get
Whips
everything
with
caught up.
noodles
So
for you
I
all
will
the
do my
way.
best. I will do my best.
Anyhow, we'd like to thank our patrons that are waiting for you to finish the. I'm just kidding.
I'm sure they are. Yes. Hmm. I don't even know if anybody
Brandon,
actually watches any of it, but whatever. It's
just
there.
you and I. That's fine.
Right.
Brandon, Chris, and Michelle, Dee, Drake Jensen, Casey Starr, Carrie and Corey, Kim, Joan, Leanne, Nicole, and Shannon, and whoever else is out there um, on the Patreon. A special thanks to Wigs of a Kind for sponsoring us this season.
I am not wearing a Wigs of a Kind wig this evening.
I'm sure Marissa sponsors bald heads too. It's
Right.
fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
But you too could sponsor or tip us by going to paypal.me/let's-have-a-fifi. A big thank you to Laura Renfro, who donated $12. $12 is a lot of money in this economy. It can
Lord.
get us a spit of gas.
Right.
Um,
It can almost buy us a 12-pack of soda.
almost. Um, so yeah, if you feel like helping some struggling artists slash drag artists slash whatever we think we are, um, you too can be a recipient of, and we'll call out your name. We're not we're not afraid to. I thought I heard the baby crying. Sorry, I do. I stopped talking. Anyway, um, yeah, tip us, sponsor us, give us the money
Did you
or
text anybody
struggle.
this week?
No. Oh,
Yeah.
I did text a couple people directly
Oh.
because
But not.
they had texted me directly.
That's not. Oh, fuck.
But if you two are waiting for me to text you, you can text LHAF to 602-730-7379.
I
And
told her
all of
that
a
her
sudden my
sign still
computer
said
is up.
2023, but she won't change it.
Oh. Well, maybe it's like a goose egg or something. Who knows?
A goose egg? You mean an
My
Easter egg?
No, goose egg. I said a goose egg. Um, that's coming up too.
A goose egg?
No, Easter.
How was your weekend? Oh yeah, there is no beeping tonight. How's that? Did y'all fix that shit or?
I pressed it before I got in here.
Oh, good. So maybe we'll be able to get through the show. We'll see.
It may turn on. It may turn on.
Uh,
It absolutely
it's
drives me nuts.
it's
It absolutely drives me nuts.
How was your weekend, Felicia? What did you do? Anything fun? Anything exciting?
Um, I worked on Saturday. Um, so I worked on Saturday, and it was like a 12 to 14-hour day. And yeah, my body was like, "Ooh, what is this? Not cool." Um, but yeah, it was cute. On Sunday, recovery day. Let's just say that. Um, because the body was telling no lies the next day. And then on Monday, I spent the day with the kiddos
Hmm.
here at home while Scott worked.
I-
I had a very like lame duck uh, chill back weekend.
Yeah, well, you could have had been doing something on Sunday, but that's okay. So I guess my day
Hmm.
was probably my
Uh,
weekend was
wait,
probably
wait, wait. So pause. No, I could not have because I would have overdone it, and we have talked about personal limits.
you know what? You'd have been
I did
fine.
not.
You'd have been fine.
No,
Suck it
no,
up.
no, no. I would not have been.
So Friday night, our youngest had a sleepover. That was
How was
interesting.
that?
I'm actually I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it during the tip. But yeah, it's always interesting having like a gaggle of teenage girls in the house. Like it's
Not
very
a
different.
gaggle.
I'm just gonna say this, okay? When I was 14, like having sleepovers and like going to sleepovers, it was very different. Like now they watch TikTok and like get political and shit. Where we were doing like
Say what now?
things that you know we should have been doing, like trying to sneak out of the house to go hang out with boys, and like it's very different, very very different. Like we were trying to watch movies that we weren't supposed to watch. Like we were just, it was very different when I was 14. Like,
Yeah,
mm,
but you don't want her doing what you did.
no, but it's just weird. Like kids today are just so odd. Like I'm like, why aren't you trying to do things? Why aren't you trying to like, I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't
The
necessarily
children
want
don't
her
leave the
doing
house.
all the things that I did at her age, but like I mean it'd be, I don't know, I guess it'd be almost nice to know that like she's trying to do some of the like, I don't know, it's weird. Like it's just it I don't know. I'm like, y'all, like it was um excuse
Ugh.
me, not the late 1800s, okay? That would have been the late 1900s. Thank you. You're a century off. But that's fine. Saturday, I had lunch with Trey because Trey was in town for rodeo stuff. He was here with Celia. Um, and I was able to go have lunch with him, which was really nice. I haven't seen him in like forever. So that was really cool. I was glad we were able to at least hang out for a little bit.
Oh,
Um,
good.
and I know that Saturday was Desiree de Mornay's celebration of
Mhm.
life, and I watched as much as I could on the live stream because I wanted to, support, but I wasn't like, I knew Desiree. Our paths crossed many times over the years. I definitely wasn't like close to her. I didn't know her like that. She wasn't family to me. And I
Mm.
didn't want to be that person taking up space in a place that I feel could have been, should have been for folks that knew her better like that. And that's just, and that's just me. I didn't want people to be like, why the fuck is Freddie here? Like, so I supported, and anybody that, folks knew that if they needed to like decompress or whatever, they were welcome to come hang out. I talked to a couple people, beforehand and stuff. So, but, I wanted to make sure that for me anyway, that space was reserved for folks that
Mhm.
knew Desiree like that. If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um,
And then, to
s-
add to that, I I don't know how to feel. Um, so I watched some of the live stream, and then, like, some of the comments, I don't know, statuses, mm,
mm,
for lack of a better term,
mm,
um, um, set me a little bit backwards because I was like, "Well, I couldn't be there because I was working," but, um, like, I would have went, but as I've said before, like, death makes me kind of, uh, uneasy, I guess, but I feel like I've read a couple things. So first and foremost, there are people that like have said like if you knew Desiree and you haven't posted a tribute to her on like your page, that like are you really like s- d- like are you really a part of like her memory or whatever or something. And
no, that's not appropriate.
but I would like to say in my own uh defense is that I'm not really sure how I feel. I'm still kind of like processing it. Not that I was family, but
Right.
that I was uh what is it, the
You
six
were
degrees of
I
separation.
mean, you were in her bubble a
I was
lot
on
more,
cast with.
like, than a lot of people. Like, you performed with her regularly, and it's like,
Yeah.
you weren't, a DeMornay, but you were a part of that bubble for quite some time. So, like, you know.
So basically what I'm saying is be careful like what you say, because even if people don't post stuff, um it doesn't mean that they don't appreciate that person, doesn't mean they're not,
No,
grieving in their own way, doesn't mean, um
I
I
would
mean, I
rather
have thought about posting, but I haven't, like, sat down to, like yeah, it does feel like a guilt trip, and it may be my own projection, but I also felt like, give people space to be.
well,
And who's to say that you don't know that who
right.
watched the live stream
I mean,
and
everybody grieves differently, and honestly, I would prefer somebody not say something than to write out some, performative bullshit that, like I couldn't say much. Her passing definitely made a mark on the community, and that's what I could say. I knew that she was
Mhm,
a good person. I knew that she was a hell of an entertainer, and I knew that her passing was going to affect a lot of people. But as far as saying anything on a like personally, I didn't know her like that, so I'm not going to try and say something like that. Unlike certain
mhm.
people in the community that every time somebody passes, they change their profile picture and then makes their whole personality about that person's death. So um
Yeah, that's where the other side of it where I was going.
right, there's that.
Um, yeah, your family members dying is not about you.
No.
Um,
Or
I
even
think that's
not your
all I can
family,
say about
even
that.
somebody that you probably didn't have much contact with because you were problematic and nobody wants you around, but you're still going to do it anyway. Um,
Mhm,
so there's that. Someone's death is not about you, period, regardless of who it is,
mhm.
not about you. Um,
Yes.
yeah. And Saturday, part of the reason why I couldn't go was right around the same time. Um, was a work picnic, my partner's work picnic. So I got to watch all these little kids look completely startled as to why all of their teachers were in this like weird like that you could watch like they're trying to make sense of the context because they're like, I know these people, but the context is wrong. Like we're at this
Like, why?
park in Scottsdale, and we'd walk around, and my partner would be like, "Hi," and you'd see them look at her, and they'd be like, "I know
You're out of your
you,
element.
but what the fuck are you doing here? This isn't school. Like you don't exist outside of school." Like it was cute though. It was
Oh,
super cute.
wow.
And then Sunday was so much fun. Myself, Justin Sider, and Ben Havoc. Um, made our way to Pride Day at the Arizona Renaissance Festival. Thank you so much to Guido for giving us that opportunity again. Um,
Y'all
it's
looked
a
amazing.
blast. I always have so much fun. I mean, I'm gonna go to the Ren Fair multiple times a year anyway during the season, because I'm that person. Um, but
Definitely that person.
but I have different, like, you know, garb. I have to wear different things. But it was so
I
much fun.
believe last year you threatened to help
We
me
were
dress
totally
for
gay,
the Ren
totally
Fair.
fairies. People kept like stopping and taking our picture. Like it was so much fun. Um my brain was less short circuity this year, so I actually got up and put on like a full face and like the whole, like, you know, thing, as opposed to last year where I'm like, I've never done this before and I don't know how to do anything drag related, and my brain just went so it was better this year for me. But it was cute. Like we were walking around as three really gay fairies, and we got to judge a costume contest and got to go and hang out up at the VIP seating at the joust, and it was fun. It was great. So I had a blast. It was great. Of course, I was exhausted when I got home because I'm all out all day in the sun and I'm a ginger. But you know what? Totally worth it.
Justina just said that, but
Monday.
he didn't even hear me, so
So we like at this point we know so many people that like work at the Ren Fair. It's like we see everybody and stuff. It's awesome. I love it. Then Monday I actually had to take a late lunch at work and put a face on, and then as soon as work was over, I had to drive to Tempe to drink me tea room, because I I was doing an interview for PBS. Michelle was,
Oh, wow.
so we'll see how that goes. I told Michelle that I would do my best not to embarrass her, or the organization. But I think I made a good impression. I had the cameraman laughing, and so
Good,
it should
good.
be it should be good. It should be good. I have no idea when that's supposed to come out or anything. And Ben, I don't know when Ion Magazine will publish their article. I don't even know Ion Magazine still existed, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't
It's
remember
like
the last
a
time I saw an Ion Magazine anywhere. So yeah, didn't know it was still
it's
a thing.
all digital.
Yeah, didn't
It's
know
all
it was still
digital
a
now.
thing. So yeah, so it was a busy few days for sure. It was definitely a busy few days. Um and then I ended up in this phase tonight because I needed to record reading a story for Drag Story Hour National for World Storytelling Day. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
That they're gonna, I guess it's gonna put out on the socials and stuff. So I had to
Look at
do that a couple
you.
times, and so I had to come
I'm
up with a look
I'm
that
glad
was,
they're giving you some time.
family friendly and shit. So here we go. Um, so yeah, but
I'm glad they're giving you some time.
thank you so much, thank you.
Oh, hey, that's a face I haven't seen in a
All
while.
right. So
Hello.
my tip for tonight, again, and I don't know if
As
it's a
you
tip so
laugh
much.
before you say it.
So it's, I mean, it's not, this one's not really a tip so much as sort of a conversation piece. Because Felicia and
You said that last week.
I know, but that's fine. Um, sometimes it's not always a tip. Sometimes I can't give like fisting 101. Sometimes it's more of a conversation. I
Right.
don't know what to tell you.
That's what I'm here for.
Um, but this kind of just conversations in general, the sleepover, and Felicia and I are kind of similar in ways when it comes to this. But I was like, you know what? I don't know that we haven't really, if we've talked about this before. It's been a while. I don't remember. It
Mm,
doesn't matter.
I
But
would say that we have probably well, I have talked about it more on the Patreon.
probably, probably. But I wanted to talk about being a queer parent, or in my case, a queer bonus parent, because like for me,
Mhm.
like being a bonus parent is, I mean, it's an interesting position. You have some bonus parents that kind of end up being, as like the main parental figure, either because the other parent really isn't in the picture or the relationship with the other parent is strained or whatever. Sometimes both parents almost end up, bonus parents almost end up as like an outside observer with very little input and involvement in day to day stuff, which can kind of suck for those people, I think. It
Mhm.
can be a little bit of a tricky balance at times. And then when you add in, being queer, like that's just a whole like another layer, especially if you are in what could be perceived as like a heteronormative relationship with the parent. You know what I mean?
Ew.
Is it's like for me, it's hard because I almost have a double life. Like I have my it's weird. It's almost like it's
It's
like a
true.
superhero identity kind of thing sometimes, because it's
Oh my
like
god, I was thinking that the other day. I was like, drag entertainers are like The Incredibles.
kind of, especially if
Eh
if you're just sort of, if you either single or you don't have any kids or whatever, you just work your job. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to be able to talk about the things that you do on the weekend or whatever. But if you are, a parent, especially with like school age kids, like you literally have to go in there like, Clark Kent or, Mr. Incredible, your your mundane bullshit and then, get fabulous later and you can't tell anybody about it. But like
Oh, my kids know.
well, that's the thing,
Mm.
mine do too, but it's like, when you're around other people, you know, how queer are you supposed to be? Like, do you tone it down? What do you disclose? Like, so okay, so the sleepover on Friday, right?
Mhm.
So, uh, so
I would have loved that.
basically, it was a gaggle of little queerdos. All right, like because there's like she kind of has like two separate little friend groups, right? So you have the friends that maybe are a little more conservative. Their parents are a little more
Mm.
conservative, and then you have the group that are just weird and queer and they're just little weirdos, right?
Very liberal parents.
Right. So,
Mm. We're
I
more
mean,
like X-Men. I like that.
I am
Mhm.
a mutant, being a ginger and all.
Mm.
I'm a
You
mutant.
technically are, yes.
So,
Mhm.
and it was so interesting because like D and I were sitting in the living room, we were working on props and stuff, and they were okay. First of all, this gives you an idea of like what these. So I mentioned, when I was 14, we were doing things at sleepovers that like we wouldn't want to be
Should
doing.
not be
Like,
mentioned.
right, we don't want to be
Mhm.
doing it in like the living room or the dining room. These girls were having like a Galentine's like art thing, so they were literally sitting in. Yeah, I they were sitting in the dining room with like little canvases and they were painting and doing all these things.
What are they, 30?
Right. I'm like, what the fuck? Like I was not doing this shit when I was 14. But and we're in like we're in the living room and we can overhear a lot of their conversation. And a few times we were like, what the fuck? Like what are they talking about? But like, I guess when one of them came in, they looked around and we have rainbows and shit all over the house because,
Mhm.
eh,
Very cute.
right. And one of them, I guess they went into like the daughter's room and he was like, why do you have so many rainbows around the house? And, our daughter was like, my mom is, poly and pansexual and whatever. And they're like, oh, well, what about your stepdad? And they're like, yeah, him, she's like, yeah, him too. Oh, yeah, I could totally tell. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, that doesn't make you
What?
special because more people like, okay, like,
I can totally tell.
just cultured. Like it's like you
Oh
you
my
you
god.
you assuming or guessing that I'm not entirely straight does not make you a fucking genius. Nobody assumes that I'm straight. So there is that.
Jump on board,
Uh,
girl.
right. Um but like so like that was and then um and then there was let's see a conversation about how gays give off different pheromones and only other gays can smell those pheromones.
What
Um,
now?
mhm. Yes, it's science. Science has proven this. And then there was a conversation where one of them was like, mind you, they're like
If
14,
that
right?
was
This
true,
is
Grindr would not be
Mm.
existing at
And then
all.
it was like, let me tell you what I've learned in my lifetime. Now, I know that, like, for girls, and I guess to extent boys too, but for girls, definitely, like, there's a point in your life when, like, you become obsessed with rainbows. And, like, we're listening to this and we're just like, oh my God, what the hell? Like, it's so interesting when you have a gaggle of 14-year-old girls who are all somewhere under the umbrella, and they're
Are they
having
okay?
they're having these
Are they okay?
conversations, and we're just laughing because we're like, we did not have these conversations in our sleepovers at 14. Like, we were,
Were they talking about filing their taxes too, or what?
and that was probably
'Cause
next.
I
We
feel like
probably right. We That was probably what we missed when they went, like, into the bedroom after they were
was
done
that their pillow
politicking.
talk? They were like, "I really should file my
Right.
taxes. I've been working
Right. That's
this
what I'm
year."
like. I'm like, that's like we were sneaking out and and stealing cigarettes and shit. Meanwhile, they're watching TikTok and getting political. So, like, I don't know. But because the school district that
Yikes.
they're in is more
I'm sorry, Laura.
conservative,
I never had sleepovers either, but I attended sleepovers, especially when I got older.
I had lots of sleepovers. I went to sleepovers. Yeah, it's a I, Yeah, we couldn't hear any conversations that was like, "Oh my God, I think this one's like super cute," or whatever. Like, I was like, what are they even talking about? What do you talk about if you don't talk about that? It's weird. Um, but being in a more conservative school district means that they can't necessarily be super open about a lot of things, and it
Wait,
means that
they
we
were
can't be
gone before
super
9
open.
AM?
Yeah,
They were gone before 9 AM?
yeah. Well, we had shit to do, so we knew that they had to be gone relatively early in the morning, but they were all gone before 9 a.m.
Wow.
I, like I said, very, very. They're all weird. I don't know. Um, but
Hmm.
oh my God! And then there's that. So D says, I just watched our younger son use his head to push the door open, but forgot he closed it all the way. He bounced. So on the one hand, you have the youngest talking about, all of these things and, being intelligent. And then you have the other one trying to open the door with his head that he forgot he closed. Yeah, I, it's fine. Um, so
Your parents
the,
were under the belief that they would have to reciprocate. Oh,
mm,
I think that's why my parents didn't do it because they didn't want little bastards
no.
in our house. Mhm.
So interestingly enough, one of her friends, not one of the ones that were there on Friday, but another one that has been over to the house before, she actually
Mhm.
knows who I am. She and her mom have been to drag story hours at Brick Road Coffee before.
Oh,
So,
wow.
right, they know who I am, which is it makes things interesting because there have been a couple times when we've been to like school functions, choir concerts, whatever the fuck. And if we happen to
Do people
sit
recognize you?
they know who I am because they know
No, I mean, like, do other people?
not that anybody's told me. I don't think anybody there is going to go to fucking the conservative school
Mm, oh,
district. Like,
oh,
um, but it's interesting because even if like at school functions or whatever, if we're sitting with them, it almost immediately takes like this like kind of pressure off. I guess like I don't have to fake it. Like I don't have to, you know what I mean, to pretend to be like the straight dad because they know who I am, and I don't have to, you know what I mean. So it's weird how like just
I have
something like
never
that, like
pretended to be the straight dad, so
because well, it's like but I mean, if you were to look at, my me and my partner at first glance, we
Mhm.
just look like the basic heterosexual couple, or their mom and her gay BFF, depending on
who's
your perception.
a answering
Um,
the question.
right.
Mhm.
But it's interesting because then we have to kind of play that balance. When with queer parents and parents who are you know not just queer but maybe poly or whatever. It's like how open are you? How many how what do you disclose? How like for us we're
But I think every I think every family is like that, though. I think that, there's the dad who drinks, that comes to a family function. There's, the mom that is, smoking cigarettes behind the house and doesn't wanna tell everybody that she's a cigarette smoker.
I mean,
I think
I would hope
there's
that
all these
being queer would be have less negative connotations than dad who
well, the
drinks a lot.
climate has changed, so,
Right. But like we're open about a lot of stuff. They know that we are both know that we're both pansexual. They know that we are poly. They know a lot of things. The only thing they don't know, we haven't talked about the kinky thing yet, but they don't need to know everything. Um, that
unless they watch this show too.
that
Surprise!
they're they're not allowed to watch the show, although one of them is 18, so who knows if he does, that's on him. That's one of those things where it's like, well, if you go into our bedroom, then you deserve everything that you see because we've
Yikes.
told you not to go in the bedroom. And if you decide to go into the bedroom and start snooping or whatever, which kids do that shit, you want to do that, go
I
ahead.
sure do.
But you then don't have to come, you don't get to come and tell me how scarred you are by what you see, because that's not, you know, like we don't, just saying, like we don't,
Your kids have been warned about Googling you.
they have, don't Google me because you'll come up with some things that are fine and then you'll come up with some things that might be a little bit shocking. Um, or maybe not shocking, just things that they wouldn't. I don't think they'll be shocked at anything at this point. They just probably don't want to know. But like when the kids have friends over and stuff, like we don't go out of our way to like hide things. It's like, oh my god, hide the rainbows, like hide all the gay shit. Like
Mhm.
we're not gonna do that. So like even when like the boys have friends over, like if anybody has friends over, we're not it is who this is what you get. Sorry, not sorry. Like in fact, we usually have a bowl of condoms out because teenage boys are idiots, and we're like, look, if you or your friends need a condom, just take a fucking condom because like don't
Yeah.
do dumb shit.
Okay, I love Justine's question, not question, comment.
Comment. So Justine says, I
Mhm.
love that I have so many queer humans in my life and that I'm able to spread the acceptance and understanding to my kids. Crowning moment was when my daughter was able to come out to me as bi, although I have a sneaking suspicion she might be pan. Bi, pan,
Mhm.
six in one hand, half dozen in the other. They're a lot of times it's fairly interchangeable these days. So like,
Mhm.
right. And that's the thing too. Our partner
It
says that
is your home.
we have told them that they're more than welcome to share whatever they want, but understand that not everyone is accepting and that could come with consequences. So, like,
So I think that's the part where you mean when you say you fake it, it's
mm,
like holding back
mm,
a piece of the layer of the onion,
mm,
and so you're not, like, just giving it all to people, you're waiting for that, I know we tell everybody to be, you are worthy and you should be accepted by all, but in this climate especially, I would say we hold back a little bit until we
right.
find out, like, the people around us are like, "Oh, okay."
Well, because like
Like
it's
mhm.
weird. Like it's like because some things are kind of more acceptable than others, which is so it's like would people be okay with like me being poly and pansexual, but how would they feel about me being trans?
I also wanna say I think that a little part of you is wanting to protect your child because you don't want your child
Oh, for sure.
to have to deal with the consequences of your being. I d n I know that sounds really weird, but, um,
well,
like being bullied because
kids are
your kids
awful.
are.
So like the fact of the matter is kids get bullied for all sorts of dumb shit, you know, and if they someone knows that they have a, you know, a parent or a step parent or whatever that happens to be all of these things, and that, you know, so like
Mhm,
we want to make our kids' lives easier, but also the fact of the matter is if you come to the house, that's our turf. So like I'm not going to go to your school waving a trans flag, although I may still have to still find the fish tie. I don't know where the fish tie went, but like I may still do weird shit, but that doesn't like I won't go around like, you know, tattooing hey I'm trans all over my forehead, you know what I mean? So,
mhm.
you know, people might think that I'm just sort of the weird stepdad, but like I'm not going to put my kid
Acceptable.
in a situation where they feel like they have to defend me, they have to defend themselves, they have to defend the relationship, you know what I mean? So it's like
Mhm.
it's just being mindful. It's not necessarily like hiding. It's, you know, oh,
I
kids
feel like
definitely learn shit primarily from their
uh-huh,
parents. Because
yes.
that's most kids
I
just regurgitate shit that they hear at home
I feel like when we go to pick up the girls from daycare, I often get the question of, "Why do you have nails?"
because they're
Because I
pretty.
want them. Because why wouldn't you want them? Boys don't have nails. Yes, they do.
They do because
Even
I'm a
more so
boy
now.
and I have a nail.
Yeah.
Also, I get to go pick up kids in like my super nerdy fucking car, so there's that too. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Ah, but you know, and so you know, we're we're pretty open, and I think you guys are too for the most part, as you know, as far as
Mhm.
you know with things,
There's
and
no hiding this rosebud at all. So,
mm, and like I feel like I'm lucky in the sense that like you know my partner kind of lets me have a say in some things, you know, involving the kids. I mean, to an extent, like I'm they still have, you know, both of their parents or whatever, but if it's something that has to do with the kids that will, you know, directly affect our immediate life or whatever, it's like I get to have an opinion and I get to, you know, I get
mhm.
to have a say and have a conversation as opposed to like, well, this is what it is and this is what's happening. And because, you know, and it's like I don't like I don't expect to, I'm just ignoring that. Like I don't I'm not, you know, I get to like share stuff with the kids. Like I get to have fun with them. We get to go on trips together and I get to force them to like be nerdy. And I also get to be, I think, the kind of like masculine and in big air quotes, like role model that isn't that, you know,
Oh?
super hyper masculine person because I think that everybody
Oh,
needs
okay.
to see that. You know what I mean? Because like everybody seems to think, well, everybody needs a male role model. It's like, okay, but what you think of a man as a male role model is the person that's going to be out there chopping wood and like, you know, squishing beer cans on their head and shit. Meanwhile, I'm like, no, men can be like softer. Men can have
Yeah.
feelings. Men can cry during Disney
Actually
movies. Like,
actually, I had a conversation about that with, somebody who is very heterosexual, um, and he talked about how he's not like the bar for, like, masculinity is here, and he's kinda, like, way down here, but he's not, like, flamboyant, but, um, definitely, like, when he was growing up, he knew that he was not, like, gonna be, like, muscle bound and, uh, brawny and,
right,
coming through the door saying, like, I brought home the money," and so, like, there is trauma, um, even for, like, um, cis men, cis heterosexual men that are, like, trying to live this life of, being men, but there's this bar that is set above them that they all have to, like, look like the brawny man and bring home money
right.
for their family, and, so there's a lot of that going on.
And I think, I mean, I think it's good not just for like, you know, boys, but for girls and young women as well to see that like you know, you don't have to be like hyper masculine to be a man, you know, and like
Yes, if
and
Channing Tatum can bottom,
then
yes,
non-toxic
that's fine.
masculinity, and that's exactly it. Is that, you know, like I never make mistakes.
Um, so speaking of mistakes, I feel like I've shifted from the bonus parent who kinda was on the outside, but, you know, kind of giving
Hmm.
direction, but not like but now I'm like the bonus parent that is the parent.
Right.
Um, and so now I'm part of the decision making, and it's totally been a um I want to say it's a mind fuck because I feel like I've done this backwards. Um, especially getting settled into the situation. Freddie probably knows more about that than anybody. Um, and getting settled into the situation, we had to like learn each other again. It was
Hmm.
awful. Um, still learning each other. It's awful. But it's a transition, and my mind goes from, "Are we gonna make the same mistakes again?" Or um, what are the boundaries that we should have in place? Or like, I when I when we did this the first time, it wasn't so much thinking. I don't think like it wasn't
Right.
so. Now
Well,
I'm like,
it's like
shit. If
you
I
hear
tie my
parents
shoes
that
wrong,
you have parents that are like, you know, well, I mean, I don't know anything. Nobody knows anything. There's no such
hmm
thing as being a
there's
parent
no
and
book.
knowing things. Like you just there's lots of books, but that doesn't mean that you're still going to know everything. It doesn't mean that the people that wrote the books know everything. Like that's just the way it
Hmm.
is. A lot of it is trial and error. And like me getting into a relationship with someone who had kids again, like I was a little
You're
gun
definitely trauma
shy.
bound.
I was a little gun
Hmm.
shy after like my last relationship, where I was told that one of the reasons we broke up was because I was not a good influence on the kid, which
I think you were for at least one of them.
uh for well no, for my last, not the one before that, but my last relationship, I was told
Oh,
that, right, I was told that I wasn't a good influence, which
what?
that is kind of like you like it makes you going into something else with kids, and you're like, okay, so I'm just gonna sit back and I'm just gonna see how things go, and we're just gonna, you know. And the thing is that, and I've, you know, like I've said this to the kids, it's like, I'm not trying to replace your dad. You have a dad. Like
Amen.
I'm just
Amen.
here as an added bonus, you know, like
Well, and I'm not trying to replace any parent. I am just trying to do the best that I can for what I have. No, you don't. No, you
yeah.
don't. I can tell
uh
you, uh, from personal experience, one is lesser than the other, but no,
all my exes are pieces of work in one way or another.
they are definitely X's for a reason.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Um,
Very much so. Very much so. Oh my god.
would it be funny?
I just imagine the things that would be said. Anyway, it's fine.
It would be awkward to me.
It, I would just sort of be like, "Oh Lord, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry because."
I haven't seen any of them, but if I did, I'd probably do
I
like a quick
think,
walk off.
and I think one of them, at least one of them, has moved out of state. Um,
Thank God.
and the other one has probably moved somewhere as well, but I don't know where. So,
That's good.
mm.
As long as it's not near me.
I mean, I don't run into people anyway, and nobody ever ran in the same circles, so it's like the chances of me like running into anybody would have been very slim anyway. So,
I don't know if they ran into circles, but I'm sorry. I'll be on my best behavior before we get into that conversation.
that could be another thing to talk about one of these days, is like toxic traits of our exes.
Ugh.
Although I have more than you do because you've been with Scotty for like 87 years at this point.
Yeah, at this point, it's like a historical paper. I have to dust that thing off.
I'm
Uh,
gonna mine's gonna be I'll write a whole thing about what it was like to be dating in the late 1900s.
oh yeah, I could join that conversation.
See?
Before the internet, dating
Right.
before the internet,
Right. Or in the very early
and then dating
stages.
during the
Oh
internet,
god.
dating during the internet, which was interesting. Mhm.
Mm, that could be very interesting. It could be interesting.
That would be a very interesting talk. 'Cause you have to actually meet people.
I feel like we would need visual aids for that. I feel like it would have to be like a whole
Oh,
presentation.
could we get the sound of the internet?
Yes. We need to make this happen. We'll figure out how to do it. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna do it as like
After Wild Wild West Con.
right. So speaking of which, what have we got for current events? What's happening? What is going on in the world? Nothing
Oh,
good,
I
unfortunately.
loaded the news section way too much.
Yeah.
So, um, this is kinda scary. Georgia 3-year-old died after being left in below freezing temperatures, for more than 11 hours, according to the Douglas, County Sheriff. Jesus Christ. Authorities say, I don't know how to say this lady's name, but nor does she deserve the time,
Mm,
but, she called for help before noon, and she was in the woods with her 2 children. So, uh, I will take Hannah up on the PowerPoint because that could be the added, we need, like, 90 sounds as well, if they wanna research that. Anyway, back to the
research
story.
that. Jesus
When
Christ.
deputies found the 3, deputies said the children were soaking wet and knew the temperatures had been below freezing throughout the night. So they had been out there for a long time. Why was she out there? Why?
I'm
Still getting
guessing
down
that
to
she
it.
was there for scientific purposes and nothing even remotely bad.
I think she was trying to kill them. And one of them did die. Um, the investigation revealed that this lady had taken her children into the woods around midnight to take drugs.
Oh, that's good. That's
She had her
fantastic.
priority. See, we just talked about parenting. She had her
Mm,
priorities not in order.
wonderful.
What not to do, folks.
In the Phoenix area, 3 people were arrested on Friday night in connection to dinner time burglaries that have been reported around the valley since December of 2023. The group had entered the property of a residential home, then later left the property and got into a nearby minivan. Police say the driver of the minivan had rammed an unmarked police vehicle in an attempt to drive off, but was unsuccessful. Fucking idiots. 4 people got out of the minivan and ran into the neighborhood. Police were able to find 3 of the 4 individuals who got out of the minivan. It's believed that there are several members of South American theft groups still outstanding. It's recommended for the community to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity. I believe there were also, I think, 157 people arrested in Scottsdale over the weekend on a human trafficking thing.
Oh shit.
100 and I think it was
I did not see that
155 or
story.
157 people that were arrested in Scottsdale on human trafficking. Super fun
God
stuff.
damn.
Yay, Arizona.
Ugh, what are we doing? The earth will implode one day, I'm sure.
I'm just waiting for the next like asteroid to hit and hit the reset button. Control Alt Delete and start over.
So I'm convinced that the next person that I'm going to talk about is a MAGA
Oh,
supporter.
probably.
But country musician and Dukes of Hazzard famed John Schneider um,
He's a country
basically compared
musician?
Beyonce to um, a dog peeing and marking its territory. We talked about this last week that Beyonce released 2 songs
Mhm.
during the halftime show from Verizon, or not from Verizon, but in the Verizon commercial. And there was a lot of conversation, mainly among white folks,
Shocker.
about her release of these singles and the upcoming country album that she is going to release. Now, think about this. She said this like 3 years ago, and nobody was paying attention. So, okay. Anyway, so the actor continued, comparing Beyonce to marking her territory while talking about how she is diving into country music. And of course, he was doing this on like a conservative news station
Right.
because they don't give a fuck. Um, and basically, when I was doing research, I found that John is from New York, I think. So he doesn't really know that much about
Well,
country.
what's
He
his
had to
name?
like,
God, what is the that country singer who's married to somebody else famous, and I can't think of it, but he's Australian.
oh, Blake Shelton.
Is it Blake Shelton?
Is Blake Shelton married to Gwen
I
Stefani?
don't think it's Blake Shelton. Is it? No, it's somebody Luke. No. Is it Blake Shelton? Not Blake Shelton. Shit, I
No.
can't remember. You keep going.
So one of the songs is called Texas Hold'em, and it was released with another track called 16 Carriages. Uh, it landed a spot on
Keith
the
Urban.
Billboard. Oh, he's from Australia.
Yeah, that's why I say he's Australian.
Um,
But nobody seems to have a problem with him doing country. But
yeah,
that's cool.
it's fine. So I just want to let everybody know that um, Beyonce made history, and she is the first Black woman to be number one on the charts of a country, uh, the Billboard Hot 100, and
Oh.
some other chart,
I just I
making
unrelated.
history.
I just googled Australian country singer because
Country
I couldn't remember
music.
what the fuck his name was, and this picture of this dude showed up, and I was just like, oh god,
Screen share.
his
Screen share.
his name is Chad Morgan.
Screen share.
Hang on, I don't know how to do that.
It's the one with the arrow. It's just like a Zoom meeting.
Where's the arrow? What are you talking about?
It's next to the
Aha, I
camera.
see it. Okay. Um, Here we go.
I'm scared.
Neat.
What is going on there? And we're worried about Beyonce.
Terrifying. I'm like, oh, dude, I am so sorry, but oh my
Oh,
god,
who's that guy though? Guy in the
I
white
don't
shirt
know.
though.
But
Hey,
yeah, so apparently you can be Australian
and
and
do country
sing
music.
country, but you can't be black and sing country.
Meanwhile, her mom has come to her defense, as well as many other country um artists, black country artists to be particular, have existed for a long time, y'all.
Sure.
Including several that I shared over the I will continue to share because what I feel like Beyonce is doing is making a movement. Also, they told her she couldn't, and now she is, and she said, "I can, and I will."
I mean, let's also not forget that pretty much every style of music has roots in, black music. So, you know,
Also, I forgot to put it on here, but the banjo started out in Africa, so thanks, white people, for bringing us over.
you're welcome. In politics,
Good.
Trump was found guilty of fraud and will need to pay more than 350 million, and won't be able to hold an executive office anywhere in his company or in any company in New York. However, even though he is basically unable to run any sort of company or
Company
business, he apparently
still eligible.
is still an acceptable choice to run the country, which I don't fucking understand. His sons are also being they've I think they've been found guilty of lesser charges, and they need to pay out about 404 million each as well. But of course appeals are going to happen, but Jesus Christ, like I don't understand what
There was also a tweet that was like trying to pay respects to Donald Trump that said he basically painted the skyline of New York, and I laughed. I'll have to post the screenshot, but s it says people have added context. Donald Trump has only 2. buildings
Mhm.
with his name on them. Oh,
What the
I
fuck
don't
was
want
that? Where
balloons for
did
that.
that
That's
come
gross.
from? What is that? Is that
No, the
new?
balloons were not for Donald Trump. Yes. I don't know
Uh,
where that came from.
that's funny.
But anyway, if you watch the Patreon, this is a thing. Anyway, um,
Uh,
but he only has 2 buildings with his name on them, so let's calm down. He did not paint the skyline of New York, nor does he own a
no.
lot of buildings in New York.
No. It's just
You can fact check me if you want to. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
that's true. He did brag about now he has the tallest tower in New York after the World Trade Center fell. Because
Yes.
that's classy right there. That's classy. That
He's a
I,
sign of the people that make it tragedy about them. Mm.
yeah.
Okay, speaking of tragedy, truckers for Trump are set to boycott driving to New York City after hearing the ruling of Donald Trump owing more than 350 million. So if you don't get your Amazon,
Mm, mm.
blame Trump.
So there was an extraordinarily unfortunate incident that happened the other day in Oklahoma. So we all know that Oklahoma has
Mm.
has banned as one of the states that have had all these anti-trans bills out, and they were one of the states that banned transgender students from using the bathrooms that align with their gender identity.
Correct.
Um, and
Say the name.
This week, Next Benedict, who was a non-binary student in Oklahoma, was and a sophomore at one of the high schools. They were brutally beaten by a group of girls in the women's restroom, and like was they were suspended. The girls were not suspended. Next was
Yeah,
suspended and sent home. Um, and
with
they're
bruises on their
right,
face.
bruised all fuck, like beaten. They got the crap kicked out of them. Like, yeah. Um, and uh, according to their parent, uh, Next was sent home with no medical attention, nothing, just suspended, done, go home. There was no nothing. Um, and
Mm-mm.
Next ended up passing away. The basically the next day, like went to sleep and didn't wake up. Um,
Which means
and
they probably had a severe concussion.
probably more than likely, yes. So the
In some of the articles that I read, trigger warning.
mm,
Trigger warning for those that do not wanna hear this. I apologize. But, was brutally beaten against the floor of a
mhm,
bathroom. Um, and I have seen girls fight. We all have seen girls fight.
mhm.
Sometimes worse than and I don't mean to gender specify, but sometimes worse than guys.
Oh,
Like,
girls are fucking brutal. Girls are absolutely
yeah,
fucking brutal.
I have seen hair
100%.
come out of scalps
Yeah, no,
because of girls.
no, girls are fucking brutal. Um, and their mom released a statement that I thought it was very well written because they were like we didn't really understand the gender identity. We used the
Mhm.
wrong name on occasion. We used the wrong pronouns on occasion, but Next was understanding. Next was helping us with this. Next was helping us understand. And their headstone, their grave marker will have the correct name and pronoun on there, and make sure that so like they're
Mhm.
because I think people were coming down hard on the parents, and it's like no, 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 it's just no, like that's unnecessary. Like that's you
Well, and just
know
like we were talking about earlier, well, parents don't parents make mistakes and
right.
parents are people
Nobody's
too,
perfect,
but
and even people that we know use different pronouns will sometimes slip up, and then we correct ourselves and then we move along.
Mhm.
Like doesn't mean we're terrible people. But the Facebook page of the high school apparently is getting a lot of hate. Oh, so sad. If you would like to join in on that hate, and berating the school officials, or making phone calls or emails or letters or whatever you would like to do, it was the Owasso High School in Oklahoma. That's Owasso High School.
Mhm.
By all means, go and make their lives fucking miserable. They are the Nexus parents are suing them because they 100% fucking should. Um, and you know, I'm all about trolling them and making their lives completely fucking miserable. So
So
by all
yesterday
means, I
when
encourage
I
that.
went to look, so not only has what so this first was reported and it was kind of buried, and now has gotten national attention, um, because of like us as a community start like looking into things and going like, what the hell is this? And then we start going like, where are the answers to this question? And how are we supporting this family? And finding out that they
Mm,
weren't supported. So I'm sure big dogs like ACLU are involved. But I have seen very many lives where like actors and high profile people are like trying to go to this page and they have turned off the comments. So, and I went myself to look, and the comments are turned off.
of course they
And
are.
if they, and it almost seemed like they were trying to get past like this happening. Um, that they, um, e- as a person that works on the other side of the screen, I feel like you have to address things before they get too heavy because,
Oh, it's way too late for that shit. But I still say, you know what? Go ahead and email them. Email the school board, email the superintendent. By all means, clog up their
mhm.
shit.
Also, the superintendent is very,
Hmm. Yep.
anti-LGBTQRSTUV,
Yep.
all of us.
Do all the things. I don't fucking care. Like, if they're like, oh my God, people are harassing us, fucking good, because this child is dead because of you. 100%. You're going to
Mhm.
suspend the child that was beaten and no consequences for the girls that actually killed them. Good job.
Nope.
Way to go. So, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Harass them. See if I give a fuck. I don't care. By all means.
Yes, Jesse. I think that parents are better at, being, uh, educated and better about finding out how to support their children. It's the other parents that you have to worry
Mm,
about and what they're spilling into their children that make it just so terrifying because,
right.
um I can't control everything that goes in and out of my child's ears, but
Right.
I can do everything in my power to protect them. And I, I feel for them because you've done everything in your power to protect them, to learn everything about how they feel, how they want to be treated. Um, why can't other people do it?
That's why I'm like,
Um,
I can't control what anybody else does, but what we can do is try to make sure that our kids grow up to be not shitty humans. So, like,
oh,
I can't control anything else. I can't control what anybody else does, but I we do have at least a little bit of control over whether or not our kids grow up to be dickheads. So, there
hmm.
is that. There is that.
I mean, sometimes they do become dickheads, but at least you try.
Right.
Um, See if they respond to emails as much as they did when they kept running around at
Mm,
the behest of libs for TikTok all
mm.
summer. No, they're not going to. They're they're kind of like, I almost want to say like they're the coward party. They want all
Mm.
this stuff. They want all of these things to happen. They want us to go back to, they don't want black people on the streets, basically. They don't want queer people on the streets. They want straight white and white picket fences
Mhm.
and yellow painted homes, and we're all going to drive Oldsmobiles or Buicks or Pontiacs, and
And Fords, don't forget the Fords.
yeah, and we're all going to have wives and husbands. Husbands will go to work,
Mhm.
and wives will stay home and not be educated. Um, I feel like that's where they want this to go,
Pretty
and
much.
so um, they're a part of that. They're definitely a part of that. Read more about the superintendent. You'll see.
Yeah,
That's
no, it's shitty. And
without going into full on
Ben
conversation.
Havoc says that schools are increasingly more and more dangerous. No protection for queer kids, minorities, ethnicities, or lower income. No security from guns and other physical violence. And all these rules about what they can't teach, I fear, for how the future is going to look. It's weird because you have on the one hand, you have all these people that are trying to ban everything that think, even though with all this gun violence, God forbid, we do anything to like increase any sort of gun regulations or whatever. But then on the other hand, you have people that are constantly fighting, for the queer students,
Mhm.
for the gun control, for, all of this shit. And it's like, it's hard because it's
You
like
guys are
they're
coming with the facts today. I love
right.
this.
It's like they're constantly butting heads. And until the basically until there's some sort of, I don't know, until we're able to get rid of the conservatives, get rid of the Republican Party, and like it's like beating your head up against a stone wall. And until fucking Washington decides to say anything, eh. I think they released a
So
statement
some
about Nex's death, but I'm like,
the White
little.
House did?
I think I saw something, but also too little, too late,
What did
because you
Vito
could have
say?
helped prevent that shit if you had spoken up about these dumbass fucking laws that are stripping people of their civil rights. So I don't give a fuck if you feel bad and you feel terrible because Washington is not doing a goddamn thing. Don't care. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's repeating itself, just like with the whole "Make America Great Again." Like, if you know anything about the Reagan administration, you can pretty much trace anything back to about the Reagan administration. Any problem that we currently have can be traced back to the Reagan administration
He also was a Hollywood actor.
because history repeats itself.
Also, why do we keep letting Hollywood actors be presidents? You can vote any way you want to without the parties. You just won't.
You can. It
Mm.
just it basically it's a wasted vote at this point, which is fucking stupid. Let's see, what else have we got going on? Um,
I wrote one more on there.
oh,
So there was an up and coming Russian leader that was like making his mark, and it's almost like so like on the edge of conspiracy theory, but I kind of like was like, "Ugh." So um, Russia's Alexei, that's
Alexei
what I how I um Navalny or
Navalny,
Van, yeah,
Alexei
an up and
Navalny.
coming leader recently died while serving a sentence in a Siberian prison. He was reportedly healthy in a video seen of him on Thursday before his death, of course. And then after his death, the body was reportedly found bruised. They don't, they can't say where the source came from that they saw the body, but Russia claims that it was sudden death syndrome. I I
The fuck
googled
is
this and
sudden
I
death
don't.
syndrome?
It's like made up. Anyway, and they refused to return the body to the family. Now, if that don't say shady shit, then I don't know
Right,
what does. But
right,
um, he was being talked about as being Russia's next leader, um, which means what? Putting out Putin,
right.
right? And so, and people were getting excited, especially young activists, because he was being a little more uh, democratic. He was a shining light for Russia's future, and he inspired so many, especially at the local level, as well as he was hitting that like
He's hitting the
younger
younger crowd,
generation,
basically. Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
which would have led to an uprising.
Which at this point, there's not a lot of difference between Russia and here, so it's like, great.
Sudden death syndrome is brought on by being Putin's bad side.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's about
and
right.
I think that, and he's not the
Um,
first person that's died under
there's lots of,
these
yeah. Sudden death
sudden
syndrome is very
death.
popular in
'Cause I
Russia.
Googled it,
It's
and
like
then
a
I was
pandemic.
like then I was like, "Sudden death syndrome,
Not a thing.
Russia."
Yeah. It's like it's
So we
very,
better be
very
careful.
popular in Russia. Maybe they should come up with a vaccine or something for it. I don't know. Let's see upcoming gigs. So next Friday.
Friday,
Oh
Friday, Friday.
shit. Uh, I'm totally prepared for this. I'm not behind on anything at all. But next Friday, Felicia, myself, Ben Havoc, Justin
Mhm,
Sider, Rita
mhm,
Bain, a bunch of
mhm.
all sorts of people will be at Wow Wow WestCon in Tucson, and we'll be performing, and it'll be fantastic. It'll be amazing.
With that being said with that being said, Freddie will already be in Tucson next week, so we will not be having a show next
Correct.
week. Don't look for
Correct.
me.
Everybody gets the
I may
week
be
off next
hiding in
Wednesday. Go
hiding.
do something. Go do something. I don't. You.
It's coming so fast. That's what they said. Um,
Shh. And then March 8th, I will be at the Pride Royalty Review Show. They're going to bring a bunch of like old Pride people at the Rock at 8 p.m. I figured, what the hell, me as well. So I will be there.
wait, you
Doing.
got invited?
Mm-hmm. I
Oh,
know.
wow.
Shocker.
Good for you.
Um,
2024 is turning out to be your year.
right. So yeah, I'll be there at the Rock, 8 p.m. Like when I'll be doing, I think, one number or something. I don't know how many people are going to be there, but it should be an interesting show. We're going to have a bunch of past royalty, which does include me. I am a past royalty. People forget that, but
Thanks for
yeah,
the reminder.
you're
We
welcome.
forgot.
But yeah, no
I'll
Fifi
also be
next
at
week.
Stacy's on Sunday
Oh, there you
for
go.
Magic.
You will be at Stacy's on Sunday.
That just kind of just happened. So you're welcome. We're in the talks of more guests on the show, but you all seem to stick around for the whole hour. Yes. Ooh, I'm putting that on the screen. Anyway, but yes, if you have any suggestions of who should be booked as our guest, or if you want to be a guest, send Freddie or I a message and we'll get you
Just have
booked.
something
We'll book you
interesting
for
to
next
say and
week.
be interesting.
If you're not interesting, you're booked next week and the show's all yours.
No, it'll kill our ratings. Uh,
Anyhow, thank you for joining your Wednesday night conversation. Thank you to all of you who watched live and on the replay. And as you change it, as I'm reading it, with almost 15K downloads.
I'm not mad
If
about
you
it.
watch it,
I'm okay with
if
that.
you
That's
listen to it on
great.
repeat, thank goodness.
Right.
Go
Thank you for
for it.
that. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening on the podcast. Thanks for watching live. Thanks for sending this to your friends and your enemies. Um, thank you. And we will see you 2 weeks from now for your Wednesday night conversation.
Good
Good
night.
night.